right, so the second thing I wanted to show you here is some suggestions and tips for how to write a research essay. And I know a lot of you are very stressed about writing essays because it tends to be that we have very bad experiences with writing essays when we were young, and particularly in high school. It seems a very difficult thing, and so I want to remind you, a research paper is just an opportunity for you to think about your point of view, to find some other people who believe what you believe, to figure out where you fit in the larger conversation about your topic, and then to present your ideas to me in an organized way. All a paper is a conversation where you speak and I listen. That's all it is. So a couple of tips, and here you can see right here from 1 to 7 is just my suggestion of different steps you might take. So the first one, pick your topic. Look at the questions. The question you like immediately, that's the question you should do. The one that you immediately have an answer for, because it tends to be that if you can immediately find an answer, then late at night when you're stressing about writing, you still know the answer. Whereas if you're unclear about what the answer might be, as we get closer and closer to the date, you're going to find stress takes over and you won't remember what your own point of view is. So most important thing, pick the question you like. Pick the question that you understand. Second thing is to read the essay and decide on the author's point of view. Be clear about what the author thinks, because in this essay you're going to say, I believe this. The author agrees with me, or the author doesn't agree with me. And it's fine. You can agree or disagree with these authors at any time, but you need to be able to be clear about who believes what. So decide who or what the author believes. Second, decide on your position or opinion. That way you're clear. And again, you can agree with the author or disagree. Number 4 is choose evidence from your primary source. What you need, or what I mean by evidence, is quotations. So if you're going to argue about, let's say, deficits, and you're going to argue about the reasons that you find that story very effective, look at the quotes. Look through the story and find quotes that show the effectiveness of that story. Find maybe a little piece of dialogue. That might be one of the pieces you felt was very effective. I promise you, having your evidence before you write your paper is much, much easier than typing and then having to leaf through the story to try to find a quote that works. So definitely have your quotations from the primary source before you start to write. Number 5, exact same thing. Find secondary sources. And again, I show you, and I will definitely post some further instructions about getting into the BBC library if you're having any trouble, because it can be a little bit difficult the first time you try. But you need to find secondary sources. A couple of things you need to be aware of. It needs to be peer-reviewed, and peer-reviewed is something that causes people a lot of frustration and tension. The reason it needs to be peer-reviewed is because there's a lot of information on the internet, which you already know, and not all of it is accurate. And so a peer-reviewed journal is a journal that someone who has written the article has submitted it. It has been evaluated by other people in the industry who know about whatever it is that the journal is discussing, and they have said, yes, this is a valid point. He makes good points. He uses effective information, so it's a good essay. So make sure that what you're offering for secondary sources is peer-reviewed. Newspapers are not peer-reviewed. Web pages like WebMD are not peer-reviewed, so you want to avoid those. And second thing, and this is, I'm not so sticky on this, but I would suggest try for facts and information that comes after the year 2000. There's going to be no penalty if you find information from before then, but of course you're aware the medical industry changes and medical knowledge changes rapidly. So if you were to read an article from 1985 about Alzheimer's, you would find it lacks a lot of information that we now have. So try to find your sources as up to date as possible. Number 6, organize your information, and I will have the second video that I post in this order will discuss how do you organize your information, because it can be very overwhelming. But again, I promise you, the very best thing you can do is have all of your information, have all of your arguments, and have all of your quotations written down on a page before you ever get near your computer to type it. Never start writing an essay until you have all your information, because, and here's an interesting fact I'll tell you, your brain works in 2 different ways. Gathering information and figuring out arguments, that takes one side of your brain. Writing and being creative takes another side of your brain, and it's very difficult to switch between. And so the very best thing you can do for yourself is have all your information beside you when you're writing, so that you're not having to dig through papers or change web pages or find information that's additional. And again, you can do this, of course, how you like, but 12 years of experience tells me it is easier if all of your information is organized. And lastly, write your first draft. Remember, when you're writing, your first draft doesn't have to be perfect. You will revise it, and I strongly urge you to revise it, because when you revise, you can catch arguments that aren't clear, you can catch minor errors in your writing, and you can just make your writing a little bit more beautiful. So write your first draft, give it a day, take a look at it again, and certainly you can get anyone you want to help you with this. So ask friends and family if they want to be involved. All right, so the second thing I wanted to show you here is some suggestions